My name is Diana. I'm from New York. I am 32 years old and I have relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis. It was my 6th grade graduation. My teacher told me that she thinks that I should go to the nurse's office. They together said that they think that I should look forward and go to the principal's office, and the principal's like, there's nothing that she could do for me. So the principal then called my mom and they spoke and told me that I needed to go to the pediatrician, and thereafter the pediatrician told my mother that I needed help and I needed to go to the emergency room. From the emergency room, I ended up spending almost the entire summer in the hospital, and that's when my MS journey began. When I met my current neurologist, it took 2 neurologists. The first one I met at the ER, and then they sent me to another physician, and he didn't know what was going on, and then he sent me to another leading top physician in my state, and that's when she just looked at me, did a couple of physical, motor skills, and cognitive tests, and she was like, you have multiple sclerosis. Like she just laid it on me like that. This is what to my mom too, this is what your daughter has, this is what's happening, and we have to treat her as soon as possible. And that was the beginning of my story. 2.5 years of not knowing what was going on with my body. Yeah, she kind of said, you have lesions, this is what's going on, and they're obviously, from the 2 years, they had progressed, and I felt it physically that they were progressing, because my gait was off, I couldn't walk, I had no balance, I had no motor skills, I was drooling out the side of my face, twitching, spasms, all the above. Chronic migraines, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and she was like, she compiled all that together after 2.5 years. It's like, this is multiple sclerosis, and if you don't treat it now, it's only going to progress and it's going to shorten your lifespan. But I didn't really know what was going on too much. I was like, it was almost given a sentence, but you didn't know how long it was going to last, or was it the end kind of thing. So I felt more bad for my mom. Growing up, I was a dancer. I danced all my life. And then MS kind of put a stop to that. I lost my balance, I lost my equilibrium, I lost all my motor and cognitive. I had to relearn how to walk again. And as I grew older and I went throughout high school, there was certain things that I couldn't do anymore. I couldn't do dance team, I couldn't do those things. And hitting my 20s, I wanted to get back into physical fitness, and that's where I do my therapy. I'm able to meditate when I work out. I'm able to focus on one thing at a time, and it puts my energy and myself in a better place. My symptoms of multiple sclerosis have made me feel weak, made me feel broken, made me feel confused, made me not have a social life. It stripped me of everything that I thought that was entitled to me. And it also gave me a lot of discipline. It allowed me to place my focus on where it deserved to be, rather than other things that don't deserve my time and attention. So walking with this ailment, growing into a woman, put me in a place of direction, in a sense. So it's a gift and a curse, in a sense. The 22 years of having MS, it's been a circus, from not knowing and being such a little girl to now understanding where I'm going and what's not going to keep me from getting there. It gave me another perspective in life. I came from a very dark place and a big haze. My entire life, adolescence was literally stripped from me, and I had to refine myself all over again and find out who I was as not only a woman, but a Black woman in society, So, and then I have this ailment that's haunting me, and I had to find how to designate where to place that and where to place myself so I could find my path, and how I can hone myself and figure out this is what I'm supposed to do, this is where I'm supposed to be, and it's not the end. I feel as though that I'm less scared, a brighter place from when I was first diagnosed. I felt like I was placed in such a box that I didn't have any other way to familiarize myself with the world because I was so young. You know, I didn't know where to go, who to turn to, who can I explain myself to. So it was a real circus. And now that I'm older, I'm more prepared for what relapse or what MS throws at me. You know, I'm more conscious of my eating habits and how I live my life. Seeing my MRIs for the first time when I was little, I couldn't read it. And nor when they showed it to my parents would they kind of really explain it to them. Now, when I go to the doctor, I pick their brain and I tell them, and I make it urgent, like, you have to explain what I'm seeing. So when I'm looking at it, I'm able to identify certain things. And with that being said, as time progressed, I would do things where I would change my eating habits. And in time, I would be able to see that, what the change did to the MRIs. My medical records were able to, when I finally was able to understand them on my own, it helped me watch the progression or non-progression now of multiple sclerosis, what kind of made me tick and what kind of made it tick, the alleviation of inflammation. You know, sometimes if I would eat processed foods, this would happen and that would be more symptomatic versus, you know, eating more vegetarian diet and having this type of supplements. All of a sudden, 6 months straight, I'm like a warrior, you know? So you start feeling these things and you start adding them into your everyday lifestyle. And after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, this habit becomes a lifestyle. So it just only benefited me having access to my medical records and seeing my MRIs. Though my blood work was always the same, those MRIs told the story. I feel everybody's entitled to a legacy. You need to know where you're coming from. 20 years is a long time, 22 years at that. I wish I had the ones from when I was 8 years old, so I could look at 8 years old to 22. Unfortunately, it's not in my grasp. So I feel like for my family, that is something that they deserve. It's deserving to me to know where I began and where I can end up and how can I help myself later down the line. I think it's entitled to everyone to have their medical records, not just to people with multiple sclerosis, but everyone with or without a disease. They should be entitled to have their medical records, for sure. The work of Picnic Health is needed. We don't have anything that is a platform to help us cultivate and kind of get our information together so we can look for a future, to look towards something for the future of multiple sclerosis in Black women. It's unfortunate that we are looked over for even having this disease because there's so many of us that actually do have it. And I don't know if it's fear of embarrassment or, you know, not being able to identify with others, but this gives us an identity in a place that many people don't think that we should have had a place here. You know, it gives us a forefront. We can fight to find a cure. I was sitting undiagnosed for 2.5 years, and I placed it partly because of my color. In transition and moving from New York to California, not having my medical information is really hard on me. It's hard to kind of navigate how I'm going to find a new doctor here. And it's lucky enough for me that in my 20 years, I have had the same physician. So when I'm able to gain access to my medical records and I do bring it over to California, they'll have a place to start, and I'm not starting over brand new. They'll have information that is for 20 years of my life to help me in the next 20 years moving forward. It costs money to get your medical records, unfortunately, and it costs a lot of money, and I think that's completely unfair to people. Like, even if you're not dealing with a chronic illness, just have knowledge of self and to be that taken away from you, I don't understand how that's reasonable. But I do look forward to finding a neurologist in California soon. But it's definitely not the easiest transition, but I know it's capable for sure. I think that is entitled to every human being to have their history, you know? If we don't have our history of where we were before, how are we going to ever move forward? We Are Ill has partnered with Picnic Health to empower women of color to take control of their medical records. Let's redefine what sick looks like.